Hey guys, what's going on? Coming to you with part 7 of the hard mode Path of Radiance draft, and this chapter basically sucked, so I can't really offer much advice to you in terms of increasing your turn count, except the fact that I only have 2 units to use throughout the course of the entire chapter for offensive purposes, and that just creates a lot of problems because all the enemies, as you can probably tell, are spread out, and this map is easily one of the biggest, at least at this point in the game. I think it is the biggest so far in the game, but that's just one of the few things I ran into, not to mention Oscar's doubling in offensive problems until he gets 1 or 2 level ups, I believe, early on, which really did help. But as you can see, after this level up, it wasn't too great, but there's not much I can really do. I retried this chapter so many times. At least he's a little bit more bulky now, but that's about it. That's a pretty terrible level up considering his growths. If he would have gotten more strength, he would be possibly, at least throughout the course of the game. Now, granted, now he ended up very, very strong. So, but early on, he was helpful, granted, just by being Oscar and being mounted, but he definitely was not an offensive powerhouse at this point in the game whatsoever. Not being able to kill these soldiers is pretty bad. Thankfully, I'm able to meat shield, otherwise Mia would have been just a pain. I'm actually kind of happy I didn't really have her at this point in the game. I didn't have to waste a pick on her. As opposed to someone else who kind of needed to get that pick. I can't remember who has her, but Oscar is basically a unit that makes many other picks, at least combat-wise, at this point in the game, somewhat obsolete. Because Chapter 8 is a defense chapter, and it's the first chapter I get bonus experience use, and I also get another offensive unit in my mage that I get in that level. But at this point, after that, the maps become a little bit too large, and Oscar's movement becomes a little bit too good to utilize effectively for someone like Mia or Reese or Boyd even. Oscar just fits my kind of blitzkrieg playstyle to this efficiency run much better. And luckily for you, since this chapter is so long, I think it was 28 minutes maybe? I could be wrong, but it was a very long chapter for me just because it took, I think, 14 turns at the end of it. But I divided it into 3 parts, so if you don't really want to watch all of it, you could just watch the 3rd part, which would make the most sense, I think. I was honestly thinking about just posting little bits and pieces of this part of the chapter at the end of it and just kind of give a summary, because really, it's all kind of basic stuff at this point, so I feel the less that I talk about it, the better. So that's about it. I don't know why. I'm actually kind of curious as to why that soldier did not attack him, because he probably would have killed him. But I really have no idea why he just sat there. I don't know if that was like mercy on the AI's part or something, but this is hard mode, so that really just kind of baffled me. I have no idea why he wouldn't attack, because I couldn't even double him, so. But, as I was saying before I was rudely interrupted by that soldier and his odd ways, at this point, yeah, like I said, it's kind of hard for me to talk about the gameplay, especially in a chapter like this when it's so long, and it's pretty much it's a route chapter, so there's not much strategy to it. You go around and kill as much things as fast as possible. Later on in the other route chapters, I have a lot more strategy involved in it, but at this point, it's just kind of grit my teeth and work through it. I knew not having Shinnon or Gatry at this point would be pretty hurtful, because I know Gatry actually can double most enemies at this point in the game, and then Shinnon is quite a powerhouse, just due to his weapons. Basically, his bases are pretty terrible. Even for a pre-promoted unit early on in the game, he's not that great. until you get him later on and can bonus experience abuse him, but that's about it. Either way, it's still nice chip damage, and I think he comes with, I can't remember if he comes with the killer bow or not, or if it's just an iron bow and a steel bow. But either way, he's still, just due to his weapons, a lot stronger than most units at this point. I don't know, it's... Heal him, Reese. Like, the thing with Reese was it always was funny, because at this point, I couldn't really do much with him, because on Chapter 5, there was no reason for me to bring him, or not Chapter 5, Chapter 4, there was no real reason to actually have him be of somewhat use in Chapter 4, because he's too fragile at this point in the game. He doesn't have any avoid, basically. His ability to heal isn't terribly useful, at least to the point where I'm willing to put him in danger for it. Something like Chapter 8 as well, I don't think I even deploy him on Chapter 8 because I only have 2 offensive units, and I recruit my 3rd in this chapter, and once again, she's a mage who's also very prone to dying because she is a mage, and her avoid sucks, but later on her avoid is pretty good. But the thing is that Reese wasn't really that useful at all in a chapter like that, because I have the throne to sit on, the gate, whatever, and then Ike was level 20 at that point, I believe, or pretty close. And, well, I think he got the 20 by the end of the chapter. And there was no real reason to endanger Reese when I only have 2 choke points that I can cover when there's 3. So, basically, Reese probably would have died, is what I'm trying to say. And my characters at that point were powerful enough to handle themselves on their own. At least Oscar and Ike were able to. And I can't remember if Chapter 8 had a way of ending the chapter early. I think you had to kill the boss, but I'm honestly okay with just taking the experience and just kind of taking that turn count as well. It wasn't that important. My early game was a bit stronger than most. Having Oscar is obviously the best out of any of the units you could have gotten. Boyd being the second best, because that's pretty much all you get. Mia would have been a decent choice, but I think I would have only picked her if I had not gotten Boyd or Oscar. That's pretty much the only other early game offensive unit you get, besides someone like Soren or you know, Ileana the mage, whatever. But yeah, early game just seems to be a pretty tough point for most people, just because even with only Oscar or Boyd, it's still difficult to clear these chapters very fast. With not having someone like Titania to just solo a damn map like everyone else could if they were playing a normal run. But so I think I'm not usually too worried about my turn counts at this point in the game. It's still so early on, and thankfully most of my picks come during the mid game, which is where I will start excelling. I get Kiran at chapter 10, after chapter 10, as well as Mordecai, who has the ever so useful smite ability, which you'll see later on. I'm on chapter 22 at this point of commentating this, so he's been incredibly helpful. Like, seriously, if you have an open pick near the end of the rounds, or in the later rounds, and Mordecai hasn't been taken, seriously, take him, because people underestimate smite. They really do. I will say, chapter 10 will be pretty surprising for most of you, because I still get the bonus experience, which most people are pretty like hesitant about anyway, because the combat experience is quite good. But I will catch you guys later for part 2, and thanks for watching.